I take the pleasure to introduce Ms. Aparna Pathak. Ms. Aparna Pathak is currently holding the position of Global Data Privacy Specialist in TCS, handling various privacy laws related matters to the entities of TCS globally. She has 20 plus years of experience in the organizations like Infosys and TCS. She got her BE degree from Vishwesvaraya National Institute of Technology. Followed by that, she got her management program, MBA program from IIM Bangalore. She is a certified CIPM and CIPPE from IAPP. She recently has been designated as chairperson of the IAPP Knowledge Net Bangalore chapter. Ms. Aparna strongly believes in embracing the privacy culture and building trust among the stakeholders as a default feature for the organization to survive and grow. With this brief introduction, Madam, we hand over forum to you. We are very thankful for your accepting a BPP invitation to share your knowledge. Thank you very much. Forum is yours.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. And thank you, Navi, sir, for inviting me. It's my pleasure to be here. And a very warm welcome to everyone and a very happy new year to you. This being the first one, I was not sure if I'll be able to do the justice for it, but thank you everyone for joining. I will share my screen and I would like to make it more interactive so that we all can exchange ideas and thoughts, and we will be able to have a conversation which will drive ideas. So I will share my screen and you can help me if you are able to see.
Yes.
So the topic is organizations' privacy protection needs and the current technology solutions. So now most of you are in the privacy domain and understand that yes, data protection is here to stay, and we definitely need to find the ways of how we can do it better. And my most of the points will be through the technology for the privacy community as such. But before I get into the conversations of why or what, I would want to understand why do we need technology solutions in privacy? If you want to unmute yourself or say something, or you want to put it in the chat window, please feel free to answer that. Why do we need technology, and specifically in privacy? Anyone? Feel free to put it in the chat window.
I think, Aparna, today the technology is the one which is like an enabler to ensure, for example, even to implement the rights of the data subjects. One simple example from a GDPR perspective, that somebody asking for, let's say, deletion, correct? And obviously, first of all, whether he is the right person, authentication needs to be done, right? Then what kind of, deletion, etc. So obviously we need a technology to support this, right?
Yeah, definitely. I see Ashok has written data protection requires technology, definitely. Anybody else who wants to add?
Yeah, I guess technology has exponentially increased the problems in privacy. And I guess if you want to fix the problem at the root cause, technology created the problem. I guess it is up to look for technology to solve the problems itself at the source.
Yeah, very true. Technology has created the problem. I like it. Yes. So we need the solutions to find the solutions also. So before prior GDPR, I think there was no dedicated role that was created, and everybody was trying to, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to reduce the size of one window. Okay. Everybody was trying to do things in their own areas, like business teams will handle things at their own, security will handle in their own. But now privacy has come on top of everything. And now for us to look at all these aspects, we need some solution, because it's humanly not possible for us to look at the data at such a large scale. And every day, trillions of data is getting created. So this is what it happens. So governance, risk, and compliance. I think if we look at broad, why do we need technology within privacy? We need to govern what we are doing. We need to uncover the risks, saying where is the risk? Because if we say we have 5 applications, very simplistic, is there a risk in any of those 5? How do we identify that? Then there is a compliance aspect. With all the regulations that are coming up, they require compliance. But they also have a very strong requirement of demonstrating the compliance. Now, if you say I had a letter written, I had posted a privacy notice, I had given to them in the paper, how will you tell after 2 years saying I have actually given them? So that is where it is coming, saying, compliance requires demonstration. And that's where this GRC field is picking up a little big time, saying how do you do governance? How do you identify a risk and mitigate the risk and ensure that those risks are actually mitigated? And then compliance. So this GRC is where I am going to focus more of the discussions today. Now, as you rightly said, this GRC is needed for business. Like you are security professionals, you are legal professionals, technologists. We need to actually protect the data, which is the organization's core business and where actually the data leakage can happen. So that is where for the business is very important. But the technology is also required for the privacy officers. After DPO appointments, what is the DPO going to do if he is not supported by technology? He cannot go and ask every person, have you received a data subject request? Or tell me where do you hold your data? So that is where the technology is required in business context as well as from the privacy officers. Anybody has any point of view here, any other area that you think that technology will enable GRC? Any thoughts, anyone? Okay, let me move on to the next one then. So IAPP has a vendor tech report. They release it every year. And this year's report has 364 vendors. Now you can understand what is the market size for the privacy technology itself. So let's focus on the privacy technology first. And they have defined their vendors in 2 categories. One is a privacy program management and another is enterprise privacy management. So this is mainly for the business and this is for the privacy teams. And there also, they have divided into multiple categories. So let's take a look at assessment managers. Now, every geography law says you have to do impact assessment. Now, how do you do impact? What are the rules that are there to do the impact assessment? What is considered sufficient for impact assessment? So all those things are covered under the products that are being developed for assessments. Okay. Then there is a need for consent managers. As I said, regulations demand that you should demonstrate that you have actually taken consent and the date and time when the consent was taken, and is it still a valid consent for the time being. And once somebody withdraws, how you can confirm that you have actually deleted their data or you have taken action and withdrawn the consent. So this is where the consent managers technology will come in play. Then you have data mapping. I think this is what we have and what I call is the core of privacy. Everybody needs to know where the data is and where the data is flowing. And as Ramesh sir mentioned, that technology has created so much problem that we really don't know where the data is. Is it in A location, B location? Is it in the file share, or it is in the email, or it is in the database? In the database also, is it in the Oracle database or in the DB2 database? We don't know, right? So that is where how the data mapping is done. Where is it going from A database to B database? Then it is going in the email, then it is going somewhere else. So automated data mapping, data flow diagrams is where the solutions are being built up. The next is data subject request. So this is an example that we all know that there are rights for each data subject and they can raise a request. So these, I will take them into 2 parts. One is a pure case management, where somebody will come, log the request, it will go to another person, it will have a workflow, and then somebody will close the request. Pure case management. And you will also be able to download the reports, you will be able to find out whether you have responded within the SLA or not. The second part of the data subject request is, have you given everything that you have? Have you identified what all you have and have you ensured that everything is given? So how automatically can we discover the data? How automatically can we identify saying Aparna Pathak's email address is this, find what data we hold for her and then give it to her. Right? So that is where this technology is also picking very fast. The other reason is there is no time to respond to the data subject request. We may say 30 days is enough or not enough. But Chile has 2 days. Now within 2 days, how can you go and find out data where it is? And particularly for global organizations where data may be at multiple places, it will be very challenging for organizations. Next is on the incident response. I think this, I'm sure everybody understands that if there is an incident, you log the case, it will get investigated. Again, it's a case management. It is not going to fix the problem. It is how you demonstrate that I have taken this request. Before we started the session, Navi sir was telling about the case right to forget. There was a case and it was handled. Now imagine after 10 years, somebody wants to go back and say, what was in that report? How was it investigated? How was it resolved? What actions were taken? So this is where the incident management comes in. The next is privacy information manager. So Anirban was talking about Indonesia law and his inputs and guidance of saying, analysis is there. Now, as an individual, we can go and read, but multiply those laws with hundreds of countries and every day something new is happening. How do you keep track of all those changes that are happening and understanding whether this change is applicable to me or not? So all those regulatory news, consolidation, keeping them in one place, those kind of technologies are also coming in play where legal firms and consultants and all will provide their analysis on the laws. And this can be subscribed by the organizations for them to understand what's happening. Then there is a website scanning. So cookies is the one favorite word everybody has. What cookies are getting dropped? How do you keep track of it? Because development is happening every day. A new developer joins, they will start deploying, they may not have awareness, and they will add one cookie without understanding what are the implications. Now, we can still say that person did not know his new awareness is still a big thing that we have to work on. But how do we technologically identify what cookies are getting dropped and take the actions immediately? That is where these solutions are coming up. So this entire left-hand side is helping the privacy officers to identify the risks, take actions, create the case reports, and then demonstrate that this is what I am able to mitigate. Right? Any questions on the privacy program management before we move to the next slide? Any questions, any point of views?
Any solution that technology offers for new usage of existing data or a purpose limitation kind of situations?
I'm not able to understand your
question. What technology solutions are there for solving the purpose limitation problem? I mean, you corrected data for purpose A and purpose B unknown to somebody. The tech teams have started dealing with purpose C and purpose D. You could create a procedure around it, but how would the person know that unknown to him or her? People are not using the data for n number of purposes. Any tech solutions around that space?
I don't think there is any tech solution around that. What people are able to identify is a data mapping, a data flow diagram. Sorry, my screen is going up and down.
Aparna, this is Ramesh Kauta. A quick question. is this things coming as a technology stack or individual best practices?
This view is in my own views, Ramesh.
Oh, okay. Now I thought maybe will they plan to consolidate as a tech stack?
No, so IAPP has the tech stack. They have the vendor reports and they also share what this each technology is doing.
Okay.
So coming back to the question on purpose limitation. So today we don't have any technology that can say and tag it to the purpose. But if you look at some of the languages that are coming up, like FITS language is there, which says that you can tag each data attribute to a purpose at a code level. And from there, you can generate your data flow diagram automatically.
Okay.
So FITS language is there, so you can tag each attribute with what is the category of the data. If let's say example, date of birth, you can tag it. It is a PI. It is used for say verification purpose, and you can attach it. It has to be at a language level. I mean code level.
Okay. Yeah, because many times when you're doing an audit, you don't know how to really handle this audit and what kind of data, what kind of evidence that the client can provide to prove that he's compliant with the purpose limitation.
Just to add, so Brady sir on Aparna, what Aparna said, exactly that's the control you are talking about, that doing an audit of a solution to ensure that a solution is sticking to the purpose limitation. Now, the question you just asked is how you will get the purpose. The answer of that question is get the PIA of that particular solution, get the PIA document. Now that is where automation is coming into picture, because earlier people used to use SharePoint emails to conduct PIA and stuff, but now with more advanced and automated solutions, the PIAs are getting automated, getting stored in a central solution. It's a matter of a couple of clicks. Just put a couple of reference number and you will get the PIA for any solution. And the job of the auditor would be mapping the PIA, whatever being declared on the PIA, and what the solution is actually doing. And that's pretty much it to make the life easy. I mean, that falls into the assurance work which conducted by the privacy managers or by the DPO, or maybe in the bill you see the consultancies who will do the independent auditor is definitely going to be one of the sample checks or a random 2% or 1%
but I
sample
guess
check.
again it went back to technology. How do you ensure that if you have done PIA 10 times, you not use the data 90 times more, and every time you use the data, how do you ensure that the PIA is actually got triggered and it has been performed? That's the question, right? Because at the end of the day, there might be some manual trigger, or at least some manual components in the creation of that PIA itself. And if it is human, there's a chance, not that somebody might have done it intentionally or something, but I mean, like auditors, how do you perform a test of completeness, if you ask me, right? Right.
Well,
You
that's
can
the
PIA 10
mess.
times, but you want to use it 100 times.
If they have to use it 100 times and they have to change the purpose 100 times, they have to, unfortunately, they have to either revise or add 100 PIAs for that. Unfortunately, that's what they have to do. If they miss to do
because
that,
the
it's a
reality is
failure.
today, when you go for audit, we just have to accept the client's word. That's it. And what we're thinking is there any option to go beyond it? Are there technology? That was the question that you had.
I mean, it is basically the developers or the sponsors' responsibility to prove that the PIA is in place. If they're not able to prove it, then definitely they have to go through a PIA. I mean, it is not that it will be a showstopper or the business will be impacted. I mean, if you have a solution, no PIA available, just do a new PIA. That's it, and get it checked. Sorry, I just pitched.
No, that's it.
Thank you so much. So I'll just add to what Anirban has mentioned. Definitely, you need centralized systems wherein you have all the information, like your records of processing, your PIAs and all. But as an auditor, you can only download a report and you will have to manually review that report saying, is this purpose coming correctly or not? You may get a data flow diagram, but whether that data flow diagram is telling you the purpose for each application, each attribute and all, it will have to be reviewed manually. So today, if you ask me, it is still a manual process. Today, we don't have that particular technology to automatically define purpose. The reason people are not tagging the purpose at an attribute level, which is the FITS language which is trying to do it, but it is still a long way. The reason is we have the solution developed for last so many years, decades, I would say. And going back to them, tagging them and trying to see where the data is, it is a humongous task. So purpose limitation will still be a challenge, and it will have to be done through reviews and audits, sampling and awareness. Okay. So let's move to the next part here, which is enterprise privacy management. Here is the activity monitoring. So when we talk about data minimization, we also say who has access to the data, do they really need access, and when that person leaves, can I reduce the access requirements? So how do we keep on monitoring these peripheral things of access management, trying to see who has logged into the system and probably downloaded the report, and then that report has gone somewhere else. So the log management and all, these things are today available. All the businesses, all the application technology do have it. How do we use that information for privacy? That is the area that we will have to look at and say, okay, I can use this log to identify the incidents. I can use this log to ensure that only people who have access are able to view the data. So that is where the businesses will have to, and they do some to a certain extent, have the activity monitoring tools available. Then this is the data discovery. And I will come to the data discovery in little more detail in coming slides. But this is also one important area. How can a business team identify where their data is? Okay. The next is de-identification and pseudonymization. Now, if you get a right to forget, right to erasure, how can you remove the identifier but still have the data which is business useful? Because business is not going to say that I will delete everything. They have the dashboard, they have the financial, they have to do the reporting. They cannot delete the transactional data. And that's when identifier will have to be masked or pseudonymized or completely removed. And this is a solution which I guess every function or every business team will need. The last one, the category is on enterprise communication. Predominantly our internal communication channels like emails or the chats or anything like that. Here I've seen the DLPs being put up. There will be logs of email communication, there will be logs of the chats, and they will be monitored for any unauthorized exposure of any data. So this is on the enterprise privacy management. Any thoughts here from anyone? Have you seen any other tools that will help in privacy by businesses? Okay. So today we have 364 vendors in this vendor tech report, which means there are many of the organizations, startups coming into privacy space, developing technology solutions. And there are now big vendors, big companies also coming into privacy. So that means focus of all the organizations is moving to a privacy, and it will become a default, right? So what I tried to do, I tried to do this analysis.
Aparna, Aparna, this is Ramesh here. In the previous slide, when we say 364 vendors, what I understand is that right now, as part of the IAPP report, there are 364 vendors who are providing the solution for privacy program management and enterprise privacy management. Am I right?
Correct. In these categories.
Okay. I understand. So basically, it is the kind of trying to say that what kind of impact or influence is already there, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And it is evolving. So
I understand.
More
Great.
and more
Thank you.
vendors are coming here. Yeah. What I tried to do, I tried to see if I can take these scenarios and put them into GRC umbrella. So data governance, data discovery will fall in governance. All the recording, the case managements will come into the governance, where we need to know how many DSRs we received and all. Preference management will go into governance as well as compliance. Then privacy program management, completely same. How many records of processing you have, how many PIAs you have, all those things are here. Then risks. What kind of risks are coming out and how do you handle them? There will be risks coming out from the PIAs and DPIAs. So how do you manage them? And this compliance, I was trying to put all the things, but mind you, it becomes difficult for you to put everything into one bucket or another bucket. So that's where everything becomes compliance. While it is GRC, the technology solutions that will come, they will predominantly be for the compliance part. Okay. Now let's come to this particular point of data discovery. So if I lock my house and go to my neighbor and say, please find my wallet. And it's there somewhere in my home. So neighbor will ask me questions. Okay, your house is locked, I cannot enter. So you have to tell me, where did you miss your wallet? It's in the house, you please go and search it. Now the neighbor will say, you at least open the door for me so that I can enter and verify. Now I enter the door, I enter the house, unlock the door, and neighbor comes with me. And he will ask me questions. Okay, tell me, where all do you keep your wallets generally? Because I can at least go and search there. Or you tell me that you have a cupboard which is locked. At least I need to know that you have a key for it and I can go and check, or you give me that box, I will search it. So that is how all the vendor companies who are having solutions will do. They cannot directly go to your organization and start searching data. You will have to proactively say, okay, I have these 10 applications. You can go and search data in this 10. But if you have not told them that I have an 11th application also, they will never be able to discover it. And you will never be able to use your solution for data that is stored in warehouses. So this will have to be done manually. So when the technology solution is used for data discovery, there will have to be a good handshake between the vendor and the business to see what we want to discover, how we want to discover. How are you going to tag saying this is PI, this is not PI? Let's take this example that a company may consider PI as date of birth, okay? And they may consider your cycle's color as PI. But another company will say cycle color is not PI for me. So that definition of what is PI in your business context will have to be defined. So here the data discovery becomes little challenging. While there are technology tools and everything is available, there will be some sample information available saying generally this is PI. But you review it and add on to it, or you remove something else. And you will have to integrate with applications. You will have to integrate with the enterprise solutions that you have at an organization level. So that is on the data discovery. Okay. This data discovery, once you have done, and assume that you have taken the technology solution, you exactly know that this is where the data is. Can you very confidently and say, yes, here is my data, and I can identify that this data holds Aparna's information. That is where the data discovery solution will be very helpful to you in your data subject request. So one, data discovery will be helpful to you to identify where all you keep data, how you do it. And then it will also be useful for your data subject request. So when you look at the solution for data discovery, don't look at it only from a discovery perspective, saying I can generate ROPA, I can do some preventive interventions, I can do some PIAs on it. Look at it from the end-to-end life cycle of the data, and you will be able to address each of every subject request as well. So I'll take a pause here because these two areas are where most of the solutions are coming in AI-based solutions, basically. So any questions, any thoughts here? Feel free to jump in if you want to add any point.
So data discovery can only uncover known unknowns.
Exactly.
When it comes to unknown unknowns,
Absolutely.
it could fail, right?
It cannot. And Aparna, one more dimension, what you said, the PII rather, correct,
Yeah.
is depending on the context of the organization or the business, correct? Now, within the organization also, what you talked about, 10 applications, each application might handle the PII, if I'm right, in a different way, right?
Exactly.
For example, if I'm implementing HIPAA 2, let us say GDPR 2, another one, obviously the PI definition varies there. The
Exactly.
definition of critical to sensitive to, etc. So
Mhm.
the data discovery part, starting from data mapping, what you talked about in the first slide, to the data discovery, I think if I can use that word, we need to train the tool or the technology to really understand the context, then only it will be useful.
Correct. So you will have to first understand the context. The team
Yeah.
working on it should have the knowledge of what is the context and what is the PI, and then get the technology to help you.
And yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I have one question, general question, maybe do not make sense. We were in the forensic thing, we have one tool like e-discovery that's being propagated now. Whether any parallels are there in e-discovery, we don't have a ready-made arrangements, what you are speaking of. It's somebody's information I have. I cannot look into the whole thing and I have to find out whether certain information which are forensically useful for me to produce in a court of law required. How do you go about? They said, sir, we are coming out with a new tool called e-discovery, electronic discovery. Whether your tool has parallel work or it's only when something is designed already, it can work. Because mine is the undesigned data. Some data kept somewhere, somebody else. So whether it will be equal or which is more challenging.
What I know of the e-discovery, sir, is if you have unstructured data, then your e-discovery will go saying, okay, I found a ABC tag in so many emails. Okay, I found ABC tag into so many chats. I found ABC in so many files that are placed in the file share. Now it will give you hundreds of ABCs. Now whether that ABC is actually what you are looking for forensics or data subject request, that is where the challenge will come. So how e-discovery solutions are also used, in what context, what kind of phrases will be used for discovering the data will be important. But e-discovery is mainly for the unstructured data. Here, when I'm talking about the data discovery, is also going to the databases and taking the structured data out. Let's say I have a database table which holds my salary information. Now, if I just query the database, I can get that information. So these data discovery, automated discovery, those tools also work on both the sides, e-discovery as well as structured data. Hope I could answer your question. Okay. I also wanted to add one point on the data subject request case management. Many of the technology solutions that are available in market, they will have a standard form, which will say, select whether you want name, select whether you want country, select you want to add state also or not, and which all identifiers that you have. And they will say, okay, I have a template for say Canada, I have a template for Middle East, I have a template for GDPR. But as an organization, whether you need that attribute in the form and how are you going to use that attribute will again be a configuration that you will have to do. So while the technology is available, each company will have a different configuration to be done on these tools. Okay. And it may also differ that data subject rights for GDPR are different and data subject rights in some other country are different. So for your organizations, what rights you are going to enable. And that is how the forms of this data subject request needs to be enabled. Okay. Let me move to the next one, which is PIA. I think we discussed about the PIAs. And this is also on the similar lines. You will have a repository wherein you can keep everything in the center place. Everybody in the organization will come to one application, say, I am doing PIA for these things. It will throw up a form, document your purpose, document your storage, document your risks, and document whatever action that you want to take. This again becomes a case management, but actual review of it will have to be done manually. And again, this form will have information saying, I have all these attributes available that you can add country, you can add purpose, you can add risk. I can create a good chart out of all the risks. But as an organization, we will have to question saying, okay, how do I use this information? Is it going to be useful? Is it a field that I want people to select from a drop-down? Or is it the free text that they can enter? So those decisions will have to be required whenever we are doing the DPIA tool implementation, I would say. And DPIA being the very complex, contextual, it is actually writing a paper saying, everything has to be done. Instead of writing on paper, you are using a form in which you are writing it. But automatically, whether the tool is providing you recommendation, identifying the risk, it is available in some tools, but not everybody. So you may have to look at what that tool provides you and then take a call for your application. So anybody has any experience on the DPIA tools to add on to? I'll just do a time check also. Any thoughts on DPIAs? Any best practices that you would want to do while you are considering DPIA? Right, I don't see anybody putting anything in the chat window.
Aparna, Shreyas here. I have a quick remark regarding DPIA. I feel the tools are not matured enough for this, and currently the tools that I have seen have a lot of dependency on the respondents. That do this, provide this data, puts kind of a lot of workload on the respondents on the assessments and questionnaires.
Right.
Your take on that, please?
Exactly, Shreyas. I think that's where the challenge comes. You can give them a drop down saying select high, medium, low, but it will be the respondent who will have to select it. And that's where many people struggle in doing the DPIAs because they don't have a privacy knowledge. And it also depends who is doing the DPIA. Is it the privacy team or is it the business team? So when people don't have the knowledge, they may select incorrectly. And hence the review effort, writing effort will be more in this. And you are rightly saying that I think the industry, also the privacy protection in India specifically, is not yet so mature for us to identify the real risks. So it will evolve. I think more and more awareness will come, and how these fines are also getting levied. That will also give an insight what an authority is looking at. But yes, it is highly user dependent. Thanks for sharing that, Shreyas. In the interest of time, I will move to the next one, which is left shifting privacy. So I talked about FITS language, which is trying to embed controls or the tags at the code level. And that will help eventually to have your records of processing, or you can create a data flow diagram and all. But this is highly code intensive. There are other technologies coming which are going to scan the code for privacy. like you do for security. You can do the code scan with some tools. There are tools being developed for privacy code scanning, which means as soon as the code is developed, you will know whether it is having privacy things covered or not. That way, you will be able to get this information directly from the code level saying what PI is getting processed. Is there a risk because of this purpose? It will also help you in your DPIA record of processing and as well as a data subject request quickly to say where the controls need to be put in place. I think this is evolving. There are very few vendors in this space right now, but it is a high need for us to look at how we can make this privacy engineering more ingrained in our development cycles. And that is where shifting it to the left, as soon as somebody starts development, it will be more important to add it.
So Aparna, this is done at the code review level, is it? Like a static analysis, what we perform?
Correct.
Code inspection or code review, whatever you call.
Exactly. So it will identify whether you have tagged the attributes correctly or not, and whether you are using it for the purpose that is defined. So there are many ways it can be done.
Okay, thank you.
Moving to the next one. So now you may wonder if I should build a software because there is so many things that I need to do in-house because I need to implement, configure and all, or whether I should go and buy the product. So many organizations do this analysis mainly from a financial perspective, whether it is good for me to build or I'm going to spend more when I buy. So I would say instead of only doing this analysis, you should also include and integrate when you do the analysis. Build versus buy and integrate, because you will have to spend effort in integration, configuration, and educating the team of how to use that particular tool. And this is where some of the effort are actually not getting calculated when we have a build versus buy. So that I think I thought it will be good to add. So in the last things, I just wanted to add that multiple privacy technology solutions are available and they have been tagged to the GRC, which will be good. You can look at the reports that are available. You will have to identify the solution. Is it helping the privacy office or business enabling? Both are equally important and both have to stay together so that they enable each other. Evaluate, build versus buy and integrate, which will help you get the efforts equally. This is the last one, which is again very important. One tool will not fit everything. There is no one size fits all. If it works for organization A, it may not be appropriate for organization B. And whenever you select, you may take it, but it may not be applicable for your A function or it may not be applicable for B function. So you may have to evaluate, probably take multiple of the tools and define your own ecosystem for integrating technology privacy solutions. So that way you can pick and choose the tools which are relevant, configurable, usable, and to the purpose that you want. You may think of just taking a case management as a beginning rather than a data discovery. And as you mature onto the case management, then you add on to data discovery. So that way you can go in the step by step. So this is all I wanted to share in this particular session. So thank you so much, everyone. And glad to be here. And thank you for sharing your inputs. If there are any thoughts, any discussions, we can take more questions.